Hi, it's Deborah Hamilton, and you're listening to Why Do Pets Matter? Please remember to like us, give us a 5-star review, share us with your friends, because this is one of our outstanding podcasts. We've had Josh Vaisman of Flourish on before, but this time we get into discussing so many incredible things that will help you be the best person you can be. So let's listen to what Josh and I had to say this time.
Hi, I'm Deborah Hamilton. Welcome to my podcast, Why Do Pets Matter? 10 years ago, with my iPhone and a script, I recorded the first episode of the Ultimate Pet Resolution Summit, which chatted with experts about conflicts over animals. Our conversations were intimate, honest, and illustrated how disagreements over animals occur and how those disagreements can reshape people's lives and relationships. In November 2019, I started Why Do Pets Matter, a new podcast that continued these informative discussions. I'm so excited to have you here with me, continuing my exploration into a more meaningful conversation about why pets matter to all of us. My guests and I will share ideas, stories, and experiences straight from the heart, unscripted and holistic. From the bravest moments to the most brokenhearted, we will explore how to resolve disagreements over animals differently. One thing I know for sure is I want to have more meaningful conversations that will help all of us unlock that deeply felt human-animal bond that drives the emotions of conflict.
Hi, everyone. Deborah Hamilton. Thank you so much for coming to Why Do Pets Matter? Today, I have one of my dear friends and a repeat guest on Why Do Pets Matter, Josh Vaisman, who, of course, is the founder of Flourish, a wonderful group that helps veterinarians and their staff and their practices be their best. Josh, thanks for being here.
Deb, thanks so much for having me. It's a delight to be back here with you.
I know we have such great conversations. I can never not have you be part of Why Do Pets Matter on a regular basis because you've been so busy. But before we get into that, you have to, of course, think again about why do pets matter to you? Because I think it's a moving target for most people. There are different days, different feelings. So tell us now for today, why do pets matter to you?
Yeah. So my most recent iteration of why pets matter to me. There's a friend and colleague of mine by the name of Zach Mercurio. Zach is a researcher and speaker and consultant. He teaches and does some research out of Colorado State University. And Zach recently published a book called The Power of Mattering. It's a really wonderful book. I recommend it to everybody. It is based on multiple years of research that he and some others have done. And, one thing that we know pretty conclusively is that for the human experience, for us to even have the capacity to feel as if we are thriving or experiencing a life of well-being, interpersonal mattering is essential. We have to feel like we have a place in the world in which we matter to others who matter to us. So where I'm going with this is that a couple days ago, I came back from a trip. I travel a lot for my work, and I was gone for 2.5 days, something like that. And I come walking into the house, and my two dogs, Rue and Addie, are like acting as if they hadn't seen me in years. Like it's this like
Rue's got from the pilgrimage for months.
Yes, exactly. Right. Like, oh my God. I haven't seen you in forever. I've missed you so much. Thank God you're home. The dogs smile and the whole body is wagging and maybe even a little bit of whining and rubbing. Like it's that feeling. How many places in our life do we get to experience that essential ethos of mattering? Like that animal makes you feel as if you matter in the world. And I think that's a true gift. So that is why animals matter to me.
Yeah, and maybe I should change the podcast to how do we matter to our pets? Because it is exactly that. When we come home or when we're away and we come back, even if we go to the grocery store, everybody treats you as if you have left for the Foreign Legion and have just come home from, years away on a
survived war. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's been such a busy time in veterinary medicine and in the consciousness of veterinary practices because there's a little bit of this pressure to understand why pets matter to veterinarians and why pets matter to clients. And I know that's part of what Flourish helps veterinarians and their staff do, because it's that understanding of where pets are in a person's life when they walk through your door that helps you give them the care that they really need and want and can afford, that big question.
Mm-hmm. No, you're absolutely spot on. And that for us, it's really about that experience that I have with Rue and Addie when I walk in. We want to make sure that people get to experience that in the day to day of delivering or receiving veterinary care. One thing that's really key about this, I'm really grateful that you turned this around. When you suggested that, oh, maybe I should change the podcast to why do we matter to our pets kind of thing. That experience of mattering, that word itself, matter, is an interpersonal exchange. It requires multiple individuals to have some sort of an exchange. And it's through that interaction that the experience of mattering happens. And it's typically a mirrored interaction. So I think that's what you were touching on. When I walk into the house and I feel that, like, I feel like I really matter in the world because of this response from these animals that I care for. But they are also experiencing it for me. Like, oh my God, this person who's so important to me is back, and I matter to them. It's the same thing with human interactions. And so that's what we're trying to help veterinary organizations cultivate. And there's a lot of headwinds that are pushing against that these days. I think that's somewhat of what you were suggesting there. There are pressures. These are interesting times we live in.
They really are. And I think that the veterinary medicine practice of, say, the 60s, 70s, 80s, when I was young and when you were probably not even born, but I digress, was a whole different relationship
Mm-hmm.
because there was some great things that veterinarians could do for your pets, but not what we can do today. And now,
Mm-hmm.
because we can do so much, it seems that we haven't taken the time to recognize just because we can, should we? And just because we can, are our clients able to meet that financial burden of doing what they could do to save their pets? And then all that shame and blame that comes when you can't,
Mm-hmm. Just
on both
yesterday, I was
sides,
at.
vet sides and the client side. Sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt.
No, no, no. You're spot on. This is reminding me of a conversation that I had just yesterday with a client of ours, and we've been talking a lot about the fancy way of saying it is organizational design, right? So organizational identity. It's really about, like, who are we trying to be in the world? Who are we aspiring to be, and what are the behaviors that are going to indicate that? And so we've been working through some activities with this CEO of a medium to large size veterinary practice. And in the conversation, he sort of settled on this phrase. We're trying to find this, like, essential ethos, right? And he settled on this phrase of, like, I feel like if this place is really becoming what it's supposed to be, we're going to be a group of people who are constantly trying to do what's right. And at first glance, like, this felt like just such a powerful phrase. There was the word try, there was the word right. Like, it's just implied, like, we are imperfect, we'll never be perfect, but we're always striving to be better and do what's right. But as the conversation progressed, he started to get uncomfortable with the word right. It started to occur to him that if we're conveying a message to our team that this is the place where we always try to do what's right, we might miss the mark with some people. We might end up getting so fixated on doing the right thing that we might end up just always striving for, ivory tower. Like, the only right thing for your pet today, Deb, is to run an MRI and do these advanced diagnostics and let us hospitalize him for 3 days, and it's going to cost you $15,000. And you know what, Deb, you might be able to afford that, and that might be the best care for you and your pet, but someone else may not, and someone else may have a different perspective on what they. And so we started to shift, or he started to shift from the word right to what's best. And we didn't complete the conversation. There's still work to be done here. But we started to play around this idea of, instead of we are the place where everybody's always trying to do what's right, we landed on we are the place where everybody's trying to find the best for the circumstances and the individual we're working with. And that starts to, like, open up doors, right? Like, that starts to get into this, idea of spectrum of care, and, like, really getting to know the individual, and instead of just assuming that there's one way of doing things, exploring new ways of doing things. you and I both work in one of the areas that we work in similarly is the area of conflict management, conflict resolution. And as we know, there's different methodologies for approaching conflict, and one of them, of course, is compromise. Okay, you can do this. I want to do this. Let's have a conversation about meeting in the middle, which is a good way to resolve some of those things. But the ultimate form of conflict resolution is collaboration. And collaboration requires, of course, that I understand your perspective, you understand my perspective, we understand the current state of your pet and where we're trying to go with the pet. And then together we come up with a unique solution that meets all of our needs. That require like if we're just focused on doing what's right all the time, we may miss the mark on collaboration. We may not even be able to do that. But if we can say, hey, let's look at this unique situation with these unique individuals and explore what's the best possible solution. Now we can create something new. And I think that opens up some really cool opportunities.
I
What do you
love that.
think?
Well, I love that because in my world, when I was litigating, I always had to show why my client was right and my opposition was wrong. That's
Yeah.
the way you advocate. You might give or take two or three things that we agree on, but this is you hung on to the things you disagreed on. You hung on tight with both hands because otherwise you had no case, right? If you
Yeah.
could change everyone's mind that this is what was wrong and this is what needs retribution or compensation,
Hmm.
then why are you bringing this litigation, Mrs. Hamilton, right? If you don't have a strong idea of what you want. And I loved when you went through the scenario of what he thought. I've broken it down to, I think, maybe 5 words, which is we're working to get it right over being right.
Yes. Yeah. That's lovely.
Because, I know what's right for me and you know what's right for you. And if we can't communicate in a way where I can be totally honest and open to you on what I can and cannot do, what my beliefs are, and you can accept those for being my beliefs, your beliefs might be totally different. Then we can work as partners for our
Hmm.
pets. I mean, the beauty, or maybe not so beauty, of all of this is that if our pets are going to suffer, if our pets are going to, have a very small window of recovery after spending $25,000, um, reality checking and understanding the financial situation of people just because you have it might not
Hmm.
necessarily mean that this is how you can spend your income. Or maybe you feel that if the dog, I know, I mean, I think I spoke about it last time with you. I had a dog with osteosarcoma who broke her leg, and they all said, oh no, cut her leg off because she'll wake up and she'll be fine and she'll hop around on 3 legs and be happy. And I said, and which one of the dogs that you did this to spoke to you and said, I'm really happy you cut my leg off and I loved recuperating for 2 or 3 months, and then yes, I did have to be put down because it metastasized a year later. But I had that 9 or 10 months with you that were wonderful, absolutely. And our dogs or cats or birds or horses do live in the moment, which we love.
Hmm.
However, if my feeling is I don't want to do for her anything that would shift her life in such a way that it would be about me and not about her.
Yeah.
That's the concept that a veterinarian has to understand. I'll tell you that the vet at the Animal Medical Center, when I took my dog home and put her to sleep,
Hmm.
said to me, "You're making the right decision." I mean, he obviously took a communication course, or maybe he was just an empathetic soul, which is not necessarily easy to find among veterinarians to have that deep empathy for how a client is feeling. I think they have empathy. I'm not sure that they're able to express it in a way that it communicates to clients effectively, and that's why you're in business, and that's why I'm in business, because we're helping them use language that they're so fearful that they might say something wrong, so they don't say anything at all, which is always
Hmm.
terrible. But he said to me, "You're absolutely right, because the Daisy you would take home after we did surgery is a totally different Daisy than the Daisy you brought in." I
Hmm.
thought that hit the nail on the head. He absolutely understood that I wanted my Daisy to be my Daisy. I didn't want to have a Daisy, and it wasn't because, oh, she had 3 legs, she'd be ugly, blah, blah, blah. No, I thought,
Yeah, I get it.
why should she have to live with 3 legs? Because I can't let her go for a year. I said,
Hmm.
but some dogs live longer. But so when you talked about that, it was so empathetic to me, because it seemed as if, as we both know, helping clients speak to veterinarians in a way that's more respectful, which they have
Hmm.
fallen out of in the last few years. I'm pretty sure that communication was not helped by having a year or two of absentee client in the practice for veterinarians. I think that that fed the oh thank God mentality. I don't have to
Hmm.
deal with Josh or Deborah. And I think that now uh, the story everybody is telling themselves when they are communicating with clients due to their experiences and biases, and when they're communicating with their veterinarian due to experience and bias, is that we're adversarial and we're not
Hmm.
trying to get it right. We're trying to be right.
Hmm. No, I think you're really onto something. I mean, to be fair, there is potentially a measurable uptick in adversarial behavior or behavior that could be perceived as such, which unfortunately coincides with an inordinate amount of stress and strain that the veterinary profession has experienced over the last few years, combined with a bit of a exodus of talent and a dwindling talent pool to pull from to fill empty seats. So all of those things combined make it, of course, harder to express empathy effectively and have those conversations.
Somebody's calling
And
filthy names. You're not going to be like, oh, I hear you,
yeah,
Deb.
exactly. And for a long time, we haven't developed the skills to navigate those challenges effectively. And now we're playing catch up.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate that we have to do that, and it is the reality that we do. We have to play catch up. If we are, as a profession, if we are going to sit back and hope and pray and wait on the public to quote be better, we're going to find ourselves very disappointed and suffering. We have to take an active role in creating spaces where both we and they can be better together, and that requires some real intentional effort on our communication approaches.
Yeah. And real intentional effort to just understand. I love that baby. I love that baby
Oh,
too.
that's Addie.
Hi,
She's
Addie.
I have to tell you this because this is funny. You can't see, but okay, so there's Rue
Right. He's
curled
sleeping.
up in a tiny little ball on the chair.
Right.
Yeah, he sleeps there during the morning. To the left of me here is a bird cage. My small parrot. She's a little dusky pyonis.
Oh,
Her name is Dahlia. I've had her for about 20 years. Addie thinks of Dahlia as the Pez dispenser. So you may or may not be aware, but birds are very wasteful in their eating.
yeah.
So when she's grabbing her pellets and stuff, she
Three
80% of the
out of the
pellet.
crate, one in the mouth.
Yes,
Three out of the crate.
exactly. Well, Addie knows the sound of Dahlia eating and shows up to, provide
She's
cleaning
your
services.
she's
She's
your
a
breathing
custodian.
rumba. She's your breathing rumba.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. She keeps the
Good
carpet clean.
girl, Addie. I have
Yeah.
an English
Yeah.
Cocker Spaniel who does that. So I have to tell you, that's absolutely true. Absolutely true. It's interesting because um I'm working with clients and veterinarians like you are. You might not be working with clients because that might not be your target
No,
audience. But
we
mine,
typically do not. Yeah.
yeah, my target audience is to help clients talk to their veterinarians in a better way because nobody wants to be attacked. So
Yeah.
we were talking about this before we came on, in that I've been able to help clients who are so mad and want to sue veterinarians and want to, take their licenses and everything. I absolutely appreciate and understand how they feel. I, give them all the empathy and compassion that they're missing in their argument. And then after they've dumped their bucket, which you and I both know
Yeah.
since we have significant others, if we let them dump their bucket without answering, we're in a better place than if we answer them in the middle of the bucket dump and trigger them
100%.
to
Yes.
continue on what we
Yes.
did wrong that created the bucket dump.
Exactly.
So I get the clients to take a breath and say, listen, the
Mm-hmm.
veterinarian's under this pressure, this pressure, this pressure, this
Mm-hmm.
pressure. Um, with all love and affection, I will say that my colleagues in the law who represent veterinarians and the insurance companies and the adjusters who represent veterinarians don't necessarily do veterinarians any favor when they're speaking
Mm-hmm.
to the clients, because they will immediately dismiss the client's claim
Mm-hmm.
or speak in language that they don't find to be deleterious. However, my recent case is that a dog was this isn't a vet case, it's a dog bite killing case. And they said, well, there's really nothing in dispute here. And there were 5 witnesses to one dog chewing up another dog. So I don't know how
Mm.
we don't have something in dispute here.
Yeah.
But, and those are the language, that's the language we use because it's boilerplate, as we say.
Yeah.
I think what you and I both do is try to help our clients, both veterinarians, their staff, and the clients, to understand what their triggers are because it's the only one they can take a hold of. Like I said,
Hmm.
when you and I are listening to our significant others dump the bucket, we can either choose to engage, which of course never ends well for me. I don't know about you. But if I just let him dump his bucket and I go, yeah, that was really terrible, and I want to take
Yeah.
acknowledge that that was terrible, and then it diffuses.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's an acknowledgement, and when we give courses, I'm sure you've had 2 or 3 people say, if you say this in your course, which you might, you don't have to answer people right away. You can take all that information in and say, Josh,
Yeah.
I'm so glad you told me how you felt when I said this, or when my front desk staff said that, or when my,
Yeah.
vet tech staff said whatever they said. Can you do me a favor? I want to check into this a little. Can I speak to you on Friday?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
It's like against
Exactly.
their religion. They have to answer
Yeah.
right away. And I said, why? You're in your amygdala,
Yeah.
they're in their amygdala.
Yeah.
Appreciate and acknowledge and say, can we pick this up later when we both
Yeah.
have a better spot?
Yeah. There's something about the like incomplete loop of interpersonal conflict seems to like push most of us, maybe even all of us at various times, into like, we have to finish this now. And no, we don't. In fact, many times it's healthy to not finish it now and to come back to it later after you've had the opportunity to emotionally regulate and process and diffuse yourself. Yeah, I think that's absolutely lovely.
Because all of us have gotten to the car after we got that one zinger in,
Uh-huh.
and then said, oh shit, that probably wasn't my best day. I'm holding
Yeah.
on to that anger a little too tight.
Which, okay, so this is something that I've gotten, I don't know, maybe it's a simple thing, but it has really, really stuck with me. As you know, myself and Andy on our team are finishing now a graduate certificate in conflict management through the University of Arkansas Little Rock. And we chose that program for a few different reasons. But one of the things that really stood out to me when we went through the conflict analysis course was this idea of relational repair and the power of repair to strengthen relationships. And I don't know, maybe it was freeing for me because it allowed this space for my human imperfections. I think that one of the pressures that we often subject ourselves to is the pressure to feel like when there's a conflict, we have to finish it now. Like we have to close the loop, we have to resolve it, whatever that looks like right now, which is not true. You don't, as you have astutely stated. You can, hey, you know what? I need some time to look into this. Let me think through this. Can we revisit this on Friday? I think that's a really wonderful tool. The other thing too that I think we feel so much pressure, and maybe they're related actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we feel the pressure to always get it right. That I can't actually lean into conflict or I can't express myself until I have the exact perfect correct script and the exact perfect correct set of tools. And if I don't have that, then I'm going to screw it up and then I shouldn't do it at all. Actually, that's so not true. We're all human beings. And every single one of us understands the humanity in each other if given the opportunity to do so. Repair is a really, really wonderful way to, after you get that last zinger and you're sitting in the car, to go back later. Maybe it's right then, maybe it's the next day, maybe it's a voicemail or an email 2 days later. Deb, I'm just thinking about how we left the last interaction, and I'm realizing that I said something that was probably really hurtful. That wasn't my intention, but it doesn't change the fact that I probably did hurt you, and I'm really sorry for that. And what I want to do next time is I want to promise you that I'm going to take a breath or two before I respond so that I can be more responsive instead of reactive. Like, what a wonderful way to go back and repair something and prove to somebody that I'm imperfect, you're imperfect, and we can be better together.
I love that because that's exactly what I try to do, because most of the time in my other life, when I'm helping people who have a relationship with a dog, either a divorce or breeder owner handlers, or people who've had relationships for years, and then usually what happens is they've done little infractions along the way, and then some seemingly insignificant infraction,
Mhm.
the pressure cooker, the top pops off, and then all the
Yeah.
stuff hits the fan.
Yeah.
And it's not a time when people ever uh, reflect on what is it that I really want here, because
Hmm.
you kind of lose your way when you are triggered and when you're angry. So you lose your
Yeah.
way on what would be had you had a discussion like this, just a thoughtful discussion with curious questions, to elicit answers that you may not want to hear,
Mhm.
but that if you hear it in a way that you're taking it as information and not criticism. And I think for both
Yeah.
of us, when we're working with our clients, helping them recognize that whatever is being said maybe inartfully,
Hmm.
and maybe said in a way that is taken as criticism.
Yeah.
And yet that's just how they feel. It's how
Yeah.
Josh feels about me. And
Yeah.
may I be hurt by how Josh feels, or mad at Josh at how he feels, or how could he have taken what I said that way, and what's wrong with him, and he's too super sensitive and everything. And after you get through that,
Yeah.
they, and yet that's how I perceived. And do I want to be perceived that way? So
Yeah.
if Josh is perceiving me that way, who
Yeah.
else is perceiving me that way and didn't have the chutzpah to stop
Yeah.
me and say, it really hurts me when you say that. And
Yes. Yes.
that's in our work, that's the hardest thing, because there's no safety to speak
Hmm.
up. There's no trust that you're going to listen to me and not use it against me.
Hmm.
Our world of retaliation seems to be getting bigger and bigger. And what we want to do is we want to be in a situation where if we do or say or see something, if I see you say something to a client, I might not stop you in the moment, but I'll say, when you said that, this is what was triggered in me. And I don't know if that was triggered in Mrs. Smith. And maybe you want to go ask Mrs. Smith, or check in with her to see that maybe I'm super sensitive, or that maybe she was like, wow, I can't believe Josh said that.
Hmm. Yeah, I think you're really onto something here. I've been thinking a lot lately about this idea of assuming good intent in others, and I've been troubled by that phrase for a while now, and I've been trying to like navigate like what is it about that that bothers me when I hear people say like, oh, just assume a good intent in others. I feel a little triggered, and I'm
Why should I?
starting.
Why'd have to? They're
Yeah.
mean little doobie doos.
Exactly, right? So I think that's part of it. I think that part of it is like when you go to somebody who is upset about treatment that they have gotten from another human being and you say, Deb, just assume good intent in people.
Then
That
I want
feels
to
very
choke.
dismissive.
I just want to say I want to choke you, because listen,
Yeah,
why did they think good intent from me? That's
exactly,
where I
exactly.
go.
Right. So I feel like it's incredibly dismissive. That anything that's going to appear as dismissive to somebody is unhelpful advice. Like that's
It
not going to
will
work. It's
exacerbate.
ineffective.
Will
Yeah.
exacerbate. Yeah.
Yeah. The second part of it that bothers me is that sometimes people actually don't have good intentions.
Yeah.
Sometimes they are saying hurtful things on purpose. And so, like, I can't go and assume good intent on that people. So I've started to shift this idea of instead of assuming good intent in others, assume that they have a rational explanation for their behavior. Assume that there's a story, maybe not justifies, but explains rationally why they're behaving that way. And so I've started to get myself into this habit. When somebody does something that is upsetting to me, I've started to challenge myself to first, I allow myself to feel the feels, right? That
Yep.
was hurtful. My feelings are valid. My response is normal and healthy. Feel it, right? Like name it, understand it. Okay, I felt the thing. And then the next thing I try and do is I try and ask myself the question, if this was a good human being, like truly a good human being, why would they be behaving this way? What would explain that? And then I try and come up with a story that would justify that, right? Like if I was that person behaving this way. I know I'm a good human being. What would justify me behaving that way? Like, what would be the story that would explain it? And then I try and come up with a story. Now, whether that story is right or not is irrelevant. I don't know. I don't actually know why they're behaving that way. But by forcing myself to create this sort of like charitable explanation for somebody's hurtful behavior, it gets me out of amygdala and it gets me more into like executive function, prefrontal cortex. I can start actually processing through, which opens the capacity for me to then go do what you suggested. Hey, Deb, yesterday when you said XYZ, that really hurt my feelings. I know you're the kind of person who doesn't want to hurt others. And that's what happened. Can you help me understand what was going on there? Right now, I can actually do that.
I love that. And I would your analysis is spot on. The one thing I would leave out because it's triggering is you're not the kind of person who treats people like this.
You're not the kind of person who wants to hurt people.
Right. So you want to
Okay.
leave that out. You know why?
Mm,
Because it's sort of like when the AVMA does the social media posting, right?
yeah.
And it says, thank you very much for letting us know that your experience at our practice was not what we'd hoped for.
Mm,
We pride ourselves on providing great veterinary care to our clients. Please call us. And I would
mm,
always ask the staff, the people in the audience, what sentence in there is superfluous? And they're like, none of them. And I go, well, if somebody's mad at you because of the service they received in your practice, and you tell them you
yeah.
pride yourself in having good practice,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, you are just flicking them. You're just flicking them
Yeah.
off, but you're flicking
Yeah.
them. Same
Yeah.
with, I know you're a better person because maybe they're not that minute. Maybe they never
Hmm.
will be. Maybe they are. And that's sort of presuming something not in evidence, as we say. Um,
Yeah.
but what you did say that was perfect is I just need to let you know how I felt when you spoke to me that way yesterday.
Hmm.
I'd like to understand more about what I did that triggered you and then
Yeah.
why it was such a trigger for you. Because
Yeah.
then you're enabling them to recognize that, what they did or said. And I'd love for your feedback on that because we all have our own way of doing things. I've taken so many when I stopped litigating. I took so many mediation courses because being able to shut up was a really hard thing for me because I always had it. And I have found that sometimes just asking a curious question, like, Josh, yesterday was a tough day for us. And
Yeah.
I want to let you know that some of the things you said were really hurtful. And tell me a little bit about what was going on for you yesterday.
Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
would be just curious, when
Yes.
you're in your conflict resolution masterclass, I'm sure they say curious questions are the key because
Oh,
when
100%.
curious questions and not condescending prickish curious questions
Yeah.
you know
To prove the prove a point questions,
yeah,
right?
those kind of
Yeah.
questions please don't. But if you just say, yesterday was tough for us, tell me a little bit about how you were feeling because I really felt as if we had lost our ability to communicate effectively.
Hmm. Yeah.
And they'll
Yeah.
say, well, I was fighting with my wife, or my husband just told me he's divorcing me, or my,
Hmm.
kid just got suspended from school, or, maybe
Hmm.
it's nothing. Maybe they just said, well, that was just the way I felt yesterday. Okay, I just needed to know. And can
Yeah.
you do me a favor? I usually say this to people.
Yeah.
Can you let me know when you feel that way again so I can give you space? Because I don't
Yeah.
want that to happen between us again.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's absolutely wonderful.
Because what we want to do is we want to create, especially in our workspace, the ability to acknowledge when we need space, when we need
Hmm.
to give somebody else space, and when
Hmm.
we need to let them know that the space they're taking up is sucking the oxygen out of the room.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. What I really love about what you're getting to here is there's three elements that are standing out into some of the things that you've just shared. The first one is this idea of owning your part in it. Like you said some version of like, hey, I just wanted to let you know what you said to me yesterday was really hurtful and I'm wondering what I said that triggered you or what I did that triggered you, right? That's owning your part in it. There's no such thing as a one-sided conflict. Every conflict has at least two parties involved, and everybody's contributing to it in some way, whether it's an intentional contribution or not. And so, recognition of that and owning that piece, I think, is very, very powerful, and it opens up the doors because it's basically giving somebody permission to say, "Well, when you did this, it kind of pissed me off, and here's why." Which can that's really cool. The other thing too was just the fact of what we've been talking about, the like, hey, what happened yesterday was hurtful to me and here is why, and I'd love to talk about it.
Yeah.
Opening up that doors. And then the third thing that I really loved about what you just said was this future orientation. this, I'd really like for us to work through this. I'd really like for us to be able to work together moving forward. I'd really like for these things to not happen again. I want our communication to go really well. Our relationship is important to me. These are all future oriented pieces. And so when you could put those three things together, this thing happened, it hurt me. This was, I know I played a part and I'd love to understand what that was. And I really want to talk about how we can make sure that we do better together in the future. Oh my God, that's such a great algorithm for managing and working through conflict collaboratively.
And recognizing I might not be able to do any of those things right now because I might feel very taken aback by
Yeah.
you saying this, and that's okay too. So
Yes.
if you're using your words, as you and I would tell our clients to use your words in a really good way, if you're
Yeah.
using your words and then the other person goes, well, I don't give a shit about what you do and blah blah blah, understand they're not ready and be okay with that and say, okay,
Yeah.
I get it. And hopefully we can get there sometime in the future because we're going to be
Yeah.
working here, and you and I both want it to be a place where we come and feel comfortable. I love the way you broke it down to the three main parts. And the final part that I would add is that if they don't answer you as you would hope, oh, well, Josh, this is the story I'm telling myself. It also stops you creating your story. It lets them
Yeah.
tell you what the real story is.
Yeah.
But recognizing people get to that next level at their own time and not always the way
Yeah.
you would like them to get to it.
Of
So
course.
um, it's interesting because for us, we see it day in and day out because we're helping people recognize it. And I think, I mean, I would raise my hand to say, am I perfect in my own life? Yeah, no, I need so much work. I always have to stop and say, is that really how you wanted to be heard? Is that really what you wanted to say? Is that really? And if you can do that,
Hmm.
it's so much easier than to say what you just said, which is, this was a bad conversation. I'd like to figure out why it happened. How can we move forward in the future in a way where we can communicate so it doesn't happen again? Or if it's going to happen, we both recognize, this is how we're going to deal with it. It
Yeah.
it's so important, and recognizing at the end that some people may not be able to do that due to
100%.
their experiences, due to their biases. I mean, I know you and I both come across um, people who have deep, deep biases,
Hmm.
and it sometimes hurts me because I go, you're missing out on so much because
Sure.
you're holding on so tight. I think I said this
Hmm.
last time I spoke to you, but I spoke at a conference and I said, I'm Deborah Hamilton. I'm an attorney and a breeder of long haired dachshunds and Irish setters. How many of you think I'm your worst enemy? Everybody raised their hand. And I went, and you don't even know me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these are the things that you and I come up against when we're helping our
Yeah.
clients because this is the story they've lived. This is the
Hmm.
protective armor, as Brene Brown would say, they've put on.
Hmm. Of
And
course.
what we do is help them recognize what that protective armor is
Hmm.
and whether or not they want to hold on to it.
Yeah. Yeah. How it is or isn't serving them. Yep.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well said. Well said.
Well, Josh, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you've come. We had such a fabulous conversation. Of course, I'd love you back. Where are you headed now? Because you've got a lot coming up.
Yeah, I do. I've got I'm actually home for the next couple of weeks, which is delightful. And then I've got a few work trips, including one I'm very well, two actually back to back. I'm very excited about. I am delivering the closing keynote at the AVMA's Business and Economic Forum, which is here in Colorado in October. I'm really, really excited for that. My mind is blown. Like one of the other keynote speakers is David Dunning of the
Oh my,
Dunning-Kruger effect.
yep.
Like, how am I sharing a stage with David Dunning? Like, that just seems wild to me. So that's really cool. And then immediately after that one, like literally 24 hours later, my wife and I are getting on a plane. I am delivering a workshop in Honolulu, Hawaii, and then extending that stay for a few days so my wife and I can enjoy the island of Oahu. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm kind of living the dream here, Deb.
And as you should, because you're helping so many people live their best life. Why shouldn't you? I love your shirt, believe. I'm sure
Yeah.
that's what you and I both do every morning. We can believe that we are doing our best in
Yes.
whatever endeavor we try. So,
Yep.
Josh, thank you so much for being here. I love Flourish. I love you. I love Andy.
Thank you.
I feel as if we're collaborative partners. And tell people how they can get in touch with you. I know they can get you at Josh at Flourish, right?
Yeah, so people can reach me directly at josh@flourish.vet.vet. Our website, of course, is flourish.vet. I'm also very active on LinkedIn and most
I
other
know.
social media.
I've been
Yeah.
up and down with you. So thank you so much. And to everyone who's here today, thank you for coming. Remember to give us a 5 star. This was a fabulous discussion. Share it with your friends. It's got a lot of great tidbits. Until next time, please kiss your dog, cat, bird, horse, snake, lizard, whatever it is, because they matter to you. Take care.